LinkedIn might not be as big a deal elsewhere, but for Canada, it is a big deal.
Okay.
Let's face it.
Well, welcome everybody to the TFT team special podcast. Special because I'm in the director's chair. I have now finally taken over Josh. Thank goodness he's gone. I get to be free and welcome Michelle Gibson-Morgan for the second week in a row. You did so great last week that we had to have you back. And again, this week we're going to talk again about your book, Finding a Thriving Career in Canada. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Pierre. Appreciate the opportunity to share again.
Looking forward to learning even more. And I find like this week, because I have so many international students in my classes, and I've talked to them about that, and they saw the value about how could I better position myself in terms to not getting necessarily the career destination, but kind of that first kind of entry level position that will kind of guide you to get to where you want to be. And I'm hoping to maybe this week talk a bit more about that particular component.
Yeah, I'm excited to have the discussion. I can't wait. Let's go.
Well, let's jump right in, right? So a lot of my students, because I've talked to them, and they want to know about strategies. So this book talks about various strategies in terms to how do I get into the Canadian landscape?
Yeah, it starts where you are, really.
Okay.
And so sometimes we think it has to be complicated or it might seem a little bit scary because there's so much unfamiliar. But one of the things that works is start with the communities that you're already involved in, people that already know you. If you go to a church or a mosque or some other social group that you're in, that's already fertile ground for some good networking towards your opportunity. And it's in an environment that you are naturally comfortable to be your authentic self. What people don't realize is that networking is really about building relationships. It's not so much being the life of the party, which is a stereotype that doesn't really reflect the practicalities of a professional context. It's finding groups or communities where you can be your authentic self, engage in conversation, build relationships of trust, and from there it will blossom into more fertile professional engagements.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the things, I mean, you've talked about church, and funny thing, guys, this is how I met Michelle.
Yes.
So we're part of the same church group, and that's how we got to learn a bit more about her in terms of what she does. And as a result of that, I saw the value that she brings, not only in our little group, then I could see that she could bring that to the community at large. So even if you say that you don't have a network per se, sometimes we kind of overlook these networking opportunities. And I think the key today has been networking, right? I think you kind of started with that. Networking is going to be key in this environment. The good old days of sending a resume and having someone read your resume and then offering you a job, I think those days are almost gone.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Who knows what the new technological advances will bring. But for now, it's a 50-50 chance whether or not it's the conventional route of an online application that will get you that next opportunity, or it's a networking engagement, or what some of us in Canada might call a coffee chat, might be the key to your next opportunity. You never know, and so you want to try more than one strategy and see which one will work, because one of them will.
Okay. So besides networking, what other strategy would you introduce to potential applicants?
Yeah, we talked a lot about, in the previous interview, we had talked a bit about the fact that you need to establish a brand. That's a really big deal in Canada, and especially in the virtual space. So, for example, LinkedIn is one of those primary places where opportunities can find you, not just you find opportunities. And so even in the book, I talk about some ways to ensure that you're optimizing your profile, both for you to find those opportunities, but also to make it easier for the hiring managers, the recruiters, maybe the next prospective client if you decide to be an entrepreneur. You want to make yourself found, and you do that by establishing a credible brand and optimizing your public profiles, especially LinkedIn.
So having an online presence definitely kind of makes sense, and optimizing that particular presence.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that might be different depending on one's country of origin, LinkedIn might not be as big a deal elsewhere, but for Canada, it is a big deal.
Okay.
Let's face it, the random person you meet on the street after that conversation, they're going to look you up, and one of the first places they're going to go to is your LinkedIn profile to see what's there.
You're absolutely right. It's funny because and my team will attest to that. I came into the social media landscape kicking and screaming, right? I was kind of an old stalwart that I didn't have a LinkedIn per se profile, but now I'm getting hits from people that I haven't heard from in a long period of time, and some brand new individuals. So having that presence definitely does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I found, because I'm also fortunate to have been in the hiring seat as well previously in my career, and it usually does raise questions about why somebody's not there. So your absence creates as many questions as your presence on the platform. So it makes sense that you're there, but also make sure that your brand is well represented by how solid your profile is, as well as how credible the content is that you're sharing, that it reflects you very well. It shows you as an expert in what you do, and that will definitely help to attract opportunities as well.
Okay. So the days of being like Josh and partying and having all kinds of pictures on your LinkedIn profile and on your Instagram, those probably we should kind of refrain from maybe doing that?
Yes, we would highly recommend that you don't put anything out in the world that you don't want to come back to you in a positive way, because you never know what impression you're making to your next employer. So you want to put your best self out there on all the platforms. You will want to ensure that anything that might be considered questionable not be there, because it's easier to put it out there and harder to scrub once you've put it out there. And it's easy to be found. And especially some companies will hire screening companies specifically to dig into your background.
Did not know that.
So that's a whole profession that companies hire screening companies. Their job is 100% to screen your background, your educational credentials, look at what you're putting out there, including on your Facebook and your Instagram, to decide, is this the person who's going to come in and represent our brand well? And so you definitely don't want to be putting stuff out there. It's like sowing and reaping. You don't want to sow anything that you don't want to reap positive fruits for your career out there. It's the same thing with the networking. You're sowing seeds into those relationships that you will reap later if you show yourself well, trustworthy, and credible. I guess careers is a matter of sowing and reaping.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I've always said this. You continuously learn, and I hadn't even thought about that particular aspect, and I've just learned something so amazing in terms of the fact that you want to put out positivity out there, because you kind of, you sow, if you put out positive vibes, you'll sow probably positive vibes.
Yeah, agreed. A rule of thumb that might help your audience is, what do you want to be known for? Because that's really what branding is fundamentally. Wherever you show up, what do you want to have remain in the mind of whoever is engaging with you, virtually or in person? And let that be your guidepost. So if you want to be an expert in finance, you're going to put things out there that shows you credibly as a financial expert. It goes with everything. If you remember what you want to be known for, it should guide you in terms of what you want to put out there for sure.
Excellent. Wow. That was so amazing. I think I've learned a great deal today. thank you so much, Michelle, for coming in today. And we're actually would definitely love to have you again. I'm gonna go back to my students, have them watch this. This is must-see TV for them
Love
to
it.
see those 2 episodes, and I'll wait and see what type of questions that they have, and we would definitely love to have you back, because I've learned a great deal, and probably what I've learned is thank goodness that I'm not going to looking for another job anytime soon, because I would have to scrub a great deal out of my profile. But it was a pleasure having you. Anything that you're working on for the future?
The goal right now is to provide as many resources that complement what's currently in this book. So over the course of the year, I will be creating like smaller ebook with bite-sized guidance that people can implement right away, because the goal is to be as practical as possible. And also for your audience as well, just to remind them that you have what it takes to have that thriving career in Canada. Despite what the stats might say right now, you can still find that thriving career with a little guidance, with a mentor, with a coach, or with a book. The information that you're looking for is out there. So keep that optimism. You will find what you need, not just to survive, but to thrive in Canada.
You need this book in order to get what your career destination. This book is kind of a step-by-step to assist you. So thank you again, Michelle. It was great having you. So please, if you enjoyed today's session, please continue to like and subscribe to the TFT Team podcast. Thank you. Have a great week.